Okay, I screwed that up. Let's do it again. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Superhero Speak. I'm your host, Dave.
And I'm Don.
And yeah, that's it this week, boys and girls. It is Memorial Day weekend here in the United States. So most of our other cohorts are busy with family stuff this weekend. So we decided to do this just the two of us. Just the two of us.
You and I.
Because a movie came out that I wanted to talk about, so we both went and saw it, and we'll get into all of that. But I think we can soldier on. I think we're two professionals sometimes.
Yeah.
So how are you doing this week, Don? Anything new going on with you?
No, just having a great Memorial Day weekend with my family. In fact, not but a half hour ago, we just got back from fishing. Me, wife, kids. So that was a fun thing. But really not too much. I mean, I finished Fallout. So if for those of you that have seen that and know what that's about, like me and my wife got through the 8 episode season 1 there, which is good. But yeah, real dystopian stuff going on right now with Fallout, and then of course our main topic, Furiosa, which is also in like an apocalyptic. So definitely not one of my favorite headspaces, but fun stuff nonetheless. And I'm really just eagerly awaiting Star Wars Acolyte, which comes out in a couple weeks.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So hopefully we put that in the show, to-do list.
You have say now, so there you go.
But yeah, what about you, man? How's your week been?
The week was kind of draggy. I mean, everyone knows I wasn't happy last week. I had an issue with my girlfriend. That's we put the Twitter under the bridge now. But like we didn't talk all week until Friday, and then we ended up being on the phone like all night on Friday, and then yesterday we were together most of the day. Today I had stuff to do, she had stuff to do, but tomorrow, Memorial Day, we're both off, so we're gonna get together and barbecue some stuff. But yeah, it's been an interesting week too because um the work wise there's stuff going on, and the other developer on my team has been on vacation, and there's like all this stuff is going on, and I'm like, oh crud, and I'm gonna have to like catch him up when he gets back. That's always, and it's after a holiday weekend, and I always hate that stuff. I
Yeah.
hate, having to be the messenger because it wasn't my fault. Don't yell at me. But yeah, no, I mean nothing nothing too crazy though. I didn't even do much this week. Other than I will say I walked 3 miles every day.
Nice.
Every day this week, except today. I only walked like two because I was so tired today. I only walked like 2 miles. Um, but yeah, in fact, Karen said that yesterday. We had to stop at Lowe's for something, and we walked in one door. There were no carts, so we went to the other door, and I'm walking. She was waiting inside. I went out. I'm walking in with the cart, and she looks at me and goes, "You look like you've lost weight." I'm like, "I
All
hope
right.
so. I've been walking a lot to to help me lose some of this." It's like, "Yeah, you definitely. I can see it." So yeah, so that's the good thing. Wearing this So Wizard shirt that I bought not that long ago that was a little tight on me, but I was able to get it on tonight. So there you
Nice.
go.
That's how you judge, is if
That's
you
how
show
I
wizard
judge.
shirt
Yes,
fits.
yes, and
uh,
I have some 2X shirts that hopefully I will be getting back into soon, and yes, it'll all be great. It'll all be grand. Is anyone watching us tonight? You out there? Because it's Memorial Day
yeah, no,
weekend.
yeah.
Don't be too quiet. No Kassan yet. No yeah. I wonder if John's watching.
Oh, you know that ain't happening.
No, no, not at all. All right. Let's see. There's no X-Men 97 to talk about. Let's see. What else can we do? Oh, here we go. Hold on. Let me let me pull one of these up. Uh let's do a quick one. What do you call a useless piece of dick on a man? Oh, I said it wrong. Never mind. I screwed that one up. It's what do you call a useless piece of skin on a penis? Um,
Oh yeah, man.
all right. Let me try again. And I'm sober tonight, people. Um, how do you embarrass an archaeologist?
Oh, how?
Give him a used tampon and ask him what period it came from. There you go.
Oh.
All right, there's your inappropriate joke of the week.
Mm,
Yeah. So there's also okay. There was only one thing that came up on social media, and I wanted to. Well, there's two things. I want to talk about the other thing in a second.
okay.
I didn't include it in the notes, but I need to bring this up. We did an interview years ago with these two uh, people that were making a documentary on Charlton Comics. You familiar with Charlton?
I'm
So
not.
it's a comic book company. It was big in the '70s and I want to say early '80s. Um, that like oh in the '60s. I think no, that's what it was. The '60s and '70s. But like Denny O'Neil got his start there. Like a lot of big known artists started there, and they were working on these 2 filmmakers that we had on were working on a documentary about that time in comics. And it's funny, like, this just came up today. Someone commented on that episode saying, "I wonder if this documentary ever came out." So I did some research, and it looks like in 2020, they stopped posting this. So this was 2018, I think. 2018, end of 2018, beginning of 2019 is when we had them on, and they had interviews, they had on there's a YouTube channel, it's called, Charlton Movie, so go look for that on YouTube. There's interviews posted on there from all these creators. There is, forgive me for the background noise. There is, like, photos and all this stuff, and they were working on the documentary, and they needed a little bit of money to finish it,
Yeah.
but then they just stopped posting, and I'm not even friends with the people on Facebook anymore, so I'm kind of curious myself. If you were working on that movie, or if you know somebody who was, let us know in the comments down below because I would like to know what happened to it. So yeah,
Doesn't
that's
sound like anything good though.
no,
You know.
no. I mean, that happens with stuff like that. Is they run out of money, so they stop working on it. But
Mhm.
I kind of feel like if they really had a passion for it and they had all this footage, like they could have put something together. Oh, and the other thing is, yeah, it was shortly after we did this interview is when Denny O'Neil passed away as well, so I don't know if that was
Mm.
something to do with it as well. Um, and yeah, and it was funny because the people involved were actually trying to get him to come on our show because we wanted to do an interview with him, but obviously it never materialized, but that would have been a good one. Um, the other thing I wanted to just bring up real quick because this was spawned from social media. And I don't like talking about this stuff, but did you watch the rant that I posted on Friday?
I
Yeah.
did about the ComicsGate. Yes.
Yes. Right. And it's just one of these things where um something happened at C2E2. The 3 of the people that were involved with ComicsGate were trying to get a table. They were denied a table, and one of them got a ticket anyway to show up, and he was walking
Mhm.
around, and then they ended up who was it? John Malin was the guy's name. Like, I don't even know who this guy is. The only one that I know who's involved with that is Ethan Van Sciver. Um, which is funny because he was on our show right before all of this stuff started happening. But um, he went to the show. He like did an unofficial meetup with people there, and I don't know. They must have upset some people, so they kicked him out. But of course, he films himself being kicked out, makes a big deal about it. My point to the whole
Yeah.
thing is that the issue as I see it is people keep giving press to them. And like Ethan Van Sciver started calling their movement ComicsGate. Like usually you put gate on something that's a controversy. Like he wanted it to be controversial to generate press to make money to boost up his books and anyone that gets associated with it. And it's like it's not a thing. It's really not a thing. And why we keep giving these people press is beyond me, you know? Like
Yeah, I don't know how people don't see that. I mean, I can get it from their side because let's say Infamous is still famous, right?
right.
So, like, yeah, you're giving people a lot of power when you do something like that. Just give them the table, let them sit there, and let people not partake in whatever they're doing. You
Yeah.
know, then they'll go away quietly because that's how you get rid of anything of that nature is to just ignore
Exactly.
it. It won't be there anymore. You know, if someone wants to scream in a room, they're only going to be able to do it so long if everyone is ignoring them. They're just going to be like, okay, this is stupid, or my voice is starting hurting, and they will leave. So I really don't know much about Comicsgate. I mean, I've heard of it, and I know it's kind of a right wing, left wing thing, which I don't subscribe to at all. I mean, you're
Right.
personally talking to somebody that believes in, uh, small government but free healthcare. So me politically, I'm a weird person. Um, but I don't ever, I'm never a fan of, hey, don't support this because this person had something to do with it, and therefore this is Nazi
Right.
stuff, you know. But me personally, I can separate like the artist from the art because I'm pretty sure Vincent Van Gogh would get canceled if he was alive today, but yet we revere his
Yeah.
artwork. And we're talking about somebody that was like so obsessed with his loved one, his wife or whatever, right?
That he cut
That
his
he
ear
cut
off.
his fucking ear off, right?
Yep.
But we love his work.
Yeah.
Um,
Someone
so
did that today, they would get canceled, obviously.
yeah.
But
So
yeah,
yeah, I
no.
mean,
Okay.
Kassan's saying here on the comments here,
Oh,
I don't
oh,
know. The irony, of course, is his action led to a 20-minute rant video, and now this discussion, his actions paid off. Absolutely.
right.
Infamy is still Fimmy, right? Hello, sir. Yeah, absolutely. It works. I mean, it works. If you can't get some sort of attention, go negative. That's why I call YouTube's algorithm the hate algorithm, because that's exactly what it picks up and exactly what gets boosted. But YouTube is not alone in this. Newspapers, news broadcasts, like it's always doom, gloom, and controversy is what sells.
Right. Yeah.
And
I
they're
mean,
working it to the nth degree.
because like one of the things they talked about when they started it, and um, it was an interesting topic. Is the what do they call it? Diversity in comics, and like they were saying that's what's hurting comics, but like it bugs me because again, this is somebody who the couple people that started this, they were professionals who worked in the comic industry for a long time. And they
Mhm.
know you change a character for a few issues, maybe a year, and then you change them back. Like because you have to revert back to the original property to keep the copyright. Like that's
Mhm.
how it works. No, none of these changes are ever permanent in comics. And yet and the only time that they're ever quote unquote permanent is when it is a new character that they don't have to like revert
Yeah.
back. Kamala Khan and Miles Morales are the two best examples of that. But like that was their whole thing because it was the time where they had flipped the genders on a bunch of the characters. Jane Foster was Thor, and
Mhm.
um, I think Kate Bishop came in, and there was a couple other characters where like they had flipped
I
around
think
like that.
X-23, because the actual Logan Wolverine, he spent a
Yes.
year or two actually being dead. So
Yes,
yeah, she
yes,
was
that's right, they had
Wolverine.
killed off Wolverine and she took over. So it was like and it was the all new, all different X-Men or all new, all different
Mhm.
Marvel was what the
Yep,
banner was, but, like, I saw it coming and I'm like, "This isn't gonna last. This is a temporary thing to try to draw new people in." They do this every couple years, but yet they were acting like, "Oh, this is permanent and it sucks," and it's just like, "You're just doing this to create controversy so people will buy your book." And, like, here we are, what is it, 6 years later, you're still doing the same thing, and yet the people on the other side are going, "Yeah, you're evil, and we're going to ban you, and we're gonna give you attention, and you're gonna keep selling your books." And it's just like,
yep.
just can we just make this go away already?" Just,
Yeah, because people buy shit for pure political spite. Look at fast food, right? Like Chick-fil-A. I remember a number of years ago where like there was a whole big campaign against them because they're a Christian organization. They weren't
right.
open on Sundays, blah, blah, blah. And so like the very next week, they all had lines miles down the road because of course the other side of the political aisle used that as a rallying cry. So it's a whole big dumb game and you're only pumping up the other side. That's like they feed into each other. That's all that
I
happens.
I have a question. Have you ever gone into a Chick-fil-A and they handed you a Bible?
No.
Exactly, exactly. How is them not being open on Sunday
Yeah,
affect you in any way? Like, I don't understand. That's another one of those things, it's like, who cares? Like, we've become so hyper focused on our ideas in this country that, like, everyone's
yeah,
gotta adhere to my ideas, like, no. All you've gotta
right.
do is pay your taxes and watch superheroes speak. Everything else is voluntary. Uh,
And don't hurt or steal from people. And then pretty,
okay,
like me, I'm not into tattoos, piercings, or none of that. But I don't hate anybody that is, and that's
right.
just how it is. People are different.
Do you know I have never dated a woman who doesn't have a tattoo. I've never been in a serious relationship with a woman who doesn't have a tattoo.
You honestly, I can say the same thing. Um, because as much as I don't like them, it's not going to bar me from loving someone. But my current wife, my forever wife, let me
Mhm.
put that in there. She had no tattoos, and it's recently kind of something that she got in. So she's got like 3 of them now.
Uh-huh.
So I'm the same way. Like I have no tattoos, but I've never not been in a serious relationship with
My
somebody that doesn't have a tattoo.
my girlfriend in college that I was engaged to, but we ended up not getting married, had a tattoo. My late wife had 2 tattoo well, had 1 tattoo when we met and got a second one while we were married, and then I did date someone very shortly before Karen who had, like, 3 tattoos, and Karen had 1 and has gotten a second one since we've been dating. So, yeah, and it's not like I seek it out, it just happens to be what it is. Maybe it does something to the brain that make me attractive, I don't know. So
Right.
so, yeah, I don't know, I just wanted to bring that up. It's ridiculous, but if you haven't done so already, after you watch this, go back. It was posted Friday. It's a quick little video. I just ranted about it because I'm like, I'm so tired, so tired of hearing about this and people trying to use it every time there's something they don't agree with. It's just like all you're doing is giving them power. So that is all the social media madness for the week. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have our good friend Don tell us how you can follow us and some other great podcasts, and maybe be part of social media for next week when we do social media madness.
Enjoying the show? Do you want to be part of social media madness? Well, head on over to superheroespeak.com where you'll find links to all of our social media. You'll also find comic reviews by Chris, some old comic reviews by yours truly, the show itself, lots of good stuff that we're posting on there all the time. So make sure and check that out. And speaking of checking things out, of course, Superhero Speak is part of the Geek World All Stars podcast network. Great shows like the Pop Prison Power podcast, Colt 45, Fans on Patrol, That's So Wizard, the Gorilla Brain podcast, and of course, Superhero Speak. Hashtag GW All Stars, and you will not be disappointed. So make sure that you're going on the X app or whatever social media that you are enjoying. Watch for our post and make sure and interact with it. Have lots and lots of fun. All right. Well, I think I've wasted enough time. I think John has cleaned the whiskey off of his My Little Pony mouse pad. So let's head back to the show. John's not here, though. That's the joke. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. And I'm not drinking anything this week. Not after last week. Hey, while you're here, if you haven't done so yet, please click that subscribe button. Click the bell for notifications so you don't miss us when we go live on Sunday. And you don't miss any of our other content we put out throughout the week. And also smash that like button because it does help with the algorithm and helps get us out there. Because if you like us, someone else might too. All right. Well, on that note, we do have a new ad for our good friends at Colt 45. Let's give that a watch.
Yay.
Some podcasts are like this.
What's the animal in this world that you fear the least? Fish. Animal. Fish. Don't start. Don't. You're starting, and I'm not.
A fish is an animal.
No, it's not. I'm talking about an animal, like a real animal. Like
Fish. Fish.
No,
Fish is
being
animal.
hard-headed. I'm talking about that's like saying like an ant. That's not an animal. That's a sea creature.
What? It's a sea creature. A fish is an animal.
You can't go to the zoo and see a fish. They don't have zoo fishes.
There's actually so many fishes.
There's fish zoos. You can go to a fish zoo.
No, there's so many fish that they have their own f***ing attraction called an aquarium.
No, they don't. No, that's different. That's like sharks and shit. Those are animals.
Fish!
No.
Fish!
No, that's why they have different names. Sharks and fish. Why are you being political? I'm talking about an animal like a monkey, zebra, tiger, bear.
Okay.
And some podcasts are like this.
What's your take?
Since the fucking pandemic, everyone and their mother went on Amazon, got a microphone, got the whole kit set up, little filter, and now it's like they're important and we want to hear what they have to say about food, sports, culture. Who gives a
You don't like podcasts?
No, I think it's people fucking jerking themselves off on the air to make pretend they're doing something with their life.
If you already have a podcast, you can keep doing it, but it should be illegal to start a new podcast.
Get if you like doing like social justice or covering like current events, but just to talk about stupid sports, food, this and that is garbage, bro.
Wait, do you have a podcast?
Out of here, bro.
You're on a podcast right now.
I'm happy to participate in this one. Let you know how I feel about all these jamooks out here running around thinking there's somebody important. Like we want to listen to what they have to say.
What's a jamook?
Jamook, lame-brained. You know a jamook? A person of mental or physical incompetence due to their own lack of grace or social aptitude.
I like this definition. Jamook. Idiot, loser, lame-brained, a jamook.
Yeah.
But only one podcast is where you can get in-depth analysis like this.
They're breaking down the U.S. Phillips and the top brass are talking about what the fuck happened. And Phillips is like, look, bro, I wanted an army of you assholes, not just you. Go fuck out of here. I don't care. But the Senator Brandt, I was like, hold on, fam. I see opportunity.
Hey, we got a guy here. It's a super soldier.
I see a big, greasy, sweaty, swole, sexy man right here. We're going to slap you on some labels, bitch. About to walk this track for America.
Yeah. Shake your ass on the curb for America.
Bounce that ass for the U.S. of A.
Bounce that ass for the U.S.
I want dancing girls.
Dancing girls. And America's ass.
You are now listening to Colt 45.
This is Beat 'em Down.
And I'm Random Randy Savage.
Find us on all your podcatching apps like Podbean or Spotify. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Or just go to www.cult45podcast.com.
Also, check out our YouTube for that sweet, sweet video content.
Colt 45, the only podcast that puts hair on your chest.
Okay, listen. That
Evening,
first
bro.
podcast.
He keeps mining that one for great clips, and I'm wondering, is it real or do they stage that? But they keep doing it, and it's so good. I have to imagine that that's real. And the one guy is like, is he really that stupid?
It really is an enigma because on the last promo that they put together, that same dude is wearing a Queensryche t-shirt. Okay. And I
Okay.
still can't stop thinking, why the fuck does that kid have a Queensryche t-shirt on? He cannot possibly be a fan of Queensryche.
Mm-hmm.
But then I see this one where he claims that fish are not animals. That's it. He's a wonderful actor. He has to be. His whole thing has to be, I will act like the dumbest motherfucker on the face of this earth. It has to be, and he's doing a wonderful job. But anyway, that is crazy.
Right, and he's and the co-host is walking him down the road of aquarium, and he goes fish zoo. Like
Fish stew. Right.
he had to realize how dumb that sounded as it was coming out of his mouth, but no. Thanks, Randy. And
Thanks
hey,
for mining the internet for the dumbest shit possible. You, sir. Thank you.
and hey, we've had this podcast since way before the pandemic, so we don't have to stop.
I know. I was thinking that too. Like I basically started my YouTube /podcast because of Stan Lee's death, which was like a year and a half before the pandemic. So I'm
Right.
like, but he's not wrong. He is not wrong. So since the pandemic, but why not? You figure everybody's home. You can have a captive audience. Why not?
Yeah. Well, also a lot of those are already gone too. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing with podcasting. Like people start them and don't realize how hard they are when they start. So, they're here for a few months and then they give up. All right. Let's talk a little bit of news. We got a couple things to talk about. So the Vision series has been given a release date of 2026. Well, sometime in 2026. And
Right.
Terry Metalis will be the showrunner, who was also the showrunner on. Oh shoot, I can't remember. I have to bring the article up. Picard.
That's a long name. Oh, the Card. I'm not familiar with that at all. Is that a sports memorabilia show or?
You're kidding, right?
Yeah.
Picard,
No, I know.
Captain
No,
Picard,
no. Oh,
the Star
Picard,
Trek
not
show
the
from
Card.
the.
I'm sorry.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, Picard. Oh my
Okay,
God!
gotcha.
We just created a clip for Randy.
Yes, we'll be on the next one. I'm
Um,
not playing an idiot though. I'm really not smart.
have you watched Picard? I don't have Paramount, so I haven't watched it.
No.
Uh,
I like Star Trek, but not enough, I guess. I grew up with my grandma watching The Next Generation and all the Star Trek movies back in the day. I've seen the new reboots and I don't think they're horrible, but um I'm team Star Wars, obviously, when it comes to that. And I've just not heard anything about the new Star Trek shit that has made me think, oh, I should watch that. So
yeah, I agree. Um,
I'd love to see how the Klingon, and maybe this is something that's out there and I'm just not enough of a Star Trek fan to know about, but I'd love to see a show or movie about like how the Klingons came into the Federation. How did they go from like being warrior Klingons, like the Federation did not have the easiest time assimilating them. But then, so anyway, I'm ignorant when it comes to Star Trek, so the answer's probably out there. But that's what interests me. Like, how do the
yeah.
Klingons like come into the Federation when obviously they're the enemies for a lot of it?
One of the things that drives me nuts about Star Trek, and people don't realize, is that like, um, the copyrights for things are split up between a bunch of different studios, right? Like, because it was
Mm-hmm.
Lucy Liu Studios, Lucia Ball, who's the one who started Star Trek. Paramount owns part of it, and there's another distributor that owns part of it, from when it was on TV. So, like, people don't like the Klingons look different all the time
Yeah.
because there's weird copyrights around it. And there's some other character like the uniforms keep changing because of copyright laws, so they just change them.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite annoying, right? Because the Klingons in Brave New World, I think that's not Brave New Worlds, Discovery. No, I can't remember the show. Maybe it is Discovery. Yeah, the first one that was on Paramount Plus. Like the Klingons don't look anything like any past version of the Klingons from TV or the movies.
Yeah, I remember that controversy. Yeah, but to me, Star Trek was always good with the original show, with its original like modus operandi, which is this is the Enterprise. It discovers new worlds and planets.
Right.
Go. You know, that I don't want to get into any other minutia other than this is the Enterprise. Here's the planet they
And
discovered, and go.
but the funny thing is I've always been a fan since the Next Generation, and I've appreciated Star Trek and Star Wars for what they were individually. And Star Trek was always more cerebral and a study of humanity and how we interact and um on all those kinds of things. And there was some action, but it was more about the relationships and the interactions and those kinds of things. And then as soon as the reboot movies came out, and all of a sudden it was big chase scenes and explosions, and it
Yeah.
became more not quite Star Wars. Became more like, I don't know, Indiana Jones in space. You know, it's all changed since then, and I've heard that about the shows too. They're more along those lines now than what they used to be. What is Thrawn or Sansa? Except DS9 exists, and it is great. Yeah, no, DS9 is the best one. DS9 is the only one. I mean, I went to a couple Star Trek conventions in the '90s, and uh, I unfortunately know a lot about Star Trek. Um, DS9 was the only one where they actually had a plan from episode 1 to the final episode in season 7. Like, they knew where the characters were gonna start and end, and, like, yeah, things changed a little bit along the way, but they stuck pretty much to the plan, and I think that's why DS9 works, in my opinion, the best. Like, they knew where the characters were starting and where they wanted them to end up at the end, but, you know, it's also the one that gets referenced the least, I think, um, in some of these future like, I don't think anyone from correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think anyone from DS9 was in Picard, where they did have characters from Voyager in Picard. So, because 7 and 9 was in it, so, yeah.
You know what? You know what always made it hard for me to be a Star Trek fan, and I get made fun of this. I can't do the Spock thing at all. I just can't fucking do it, no matter
See,
how.
and if you can
Yeah,
do it with 2 hands, you can go, "Nanu, Nanu," which is even better.
yeah. I don't know. I'm some form of mongoloid that just can't do it. I don't know. So yeah, that's a big part of
But we were talking about the Vision, and
it. Is
his
that where
TV
we're going with
show.
this?
And we talked about it the other day when they did announce they were gonna do it. But waiting till 2026, like,
It's not coming out, bro.
you don't think so?
No, because no one cares about Vision now. Imagine how much we're not going to care about Vision 2 years from now. Like,
That's what that was the thing, and that was the buzz on social media I kept seeing when people were talking about this. Like, why all of a sudden now is there new interest in doing the Vision show where no one's talking about him, you know, and then to wait a year and a half at least, you know, 2 years before the show's going to come out. No one's going to care by the time it comes out
yeah.
unless you use Vision and other things before that.
They need to let the Vision character die and
Well,
let Paul Bettany play Professor Xavier, maybe. Like,
you're not the first to say that.
Sure, it makes perfect sense to me, to be honest. Vision even kind of looks like a robotic Professor Xavier and sounds like him. So let that character be done because, right, aren't we done with Scarlet Witch? Because what's her name? Elizabeth Olsen or whatever. She doesn't seem like she's coming back for the character. They totally made her a villain. So yeah, the show's not even coming out. That's all there is to it. It's not coming out. We're not going to care.
They can't even write a basic Blade script to start filming that. Well, yeah, there's lots of rumors about the Blade. We've talked about those. It's gone over quite a few rewrites.
So
Worf
Kassan
from-
says, well, yeah, the next generation to DS9 to Picard season 3. Worf is a very popular character, and I know that because one of my favorite things to trigger Star Wars or Star Trek fanboys with, and there's a lot in my D&D groups over the years, is I straight say Chewbacca versus Worf, Chewbacca wins, and they go ape shit over that. Did you know? So anyway, Worf is a cool Star Trek character, but no. Oh, sorry, Chewbacca is kicking his ass every time.
I'm curious.
It's just, it always flared us up, and so I always had to go.
It's funny now. You got me thinking. Who's the stronger character? It might be Chewbacca. It might be stronger, but like they've never really shown how strong he is in the movies. So interesting. Thrawn says Vision would have to be a second banana in his own show for it to get views. Ow.
Well, right. Like it's going to have to like feature Ultron or some shit, which absolutely is going to be way more interesting than Vision.
That was my point when we talked about this last time. When they said they were definitely doing the show, was that all the things that made Vision interesting in the comic, they totally blew over, and you can't go back and do that now. Where it and the whole like it's weird in the movies because Scarlet Witch and Vision have a relationship. She has a relationship with an android, where in the comics it was she had a relationship with Wonder Man, and his mind ended up in Vision's body to save him, and that's why they had a relationship in the comics, and that made sense. But like, she just fell in love with an android, and
Vision Dragon Ball Z exists, where one of its main characters also fucks an android. So it was normalized, I guess, which is why we accept it more.
And that's the other thing too, right? Because Vision, I want to say the last 2-3 decades, at least the last 2 decades, whenever they want a character they want to just kill without repercussions because he's just an android and they can fix him, is Vision. He's been killed so many times in the comics, it's not even funny. It's gotten to the point where you see him blow up and like you don't even care because it's like, he'll be back in the next book. They'll rebuild him like he's just an android. So
they'll Humpty Dumpty him,
yeah, and I agree. Like, I don't. You guys are right with everything they've done to the character in the shows and the movies and so forth. He's not an interesting character on his own. He has to be a foil against someone, and I don't think they have a plan because 2026 is not tomorrow. And that might fall in line with the other thing that came out. We talked about it a little bit last week, but I read some stuff. So they'd have new banners now for all the Marvel projects, right? So there is Marvel Television, Marvel Studios, which is the cinematic universe, the movies, Marvel Animation, which makes sense, right? We got X-Men 97. We're gonna have to get some other cartoons apparently coming, and then Marvel Spotlight, which is here are the stories that you don't really have to pay attention to because they're not connected to the greater MCU. So if you want to just jump in and watch a good story, you can watch it, but we're not connecting it really to anything. And the only thing under Marvel Spotlight currently is Echo. I felt
Uh,
like that felt like, yeah, we really screwed up. No one cared about Echo. So we're just going to call that Marvel Spotlight and don't worry about it. You're probably not going to see her again. That's what it felt like when they made the announcement.
yeah, I don't know who convinced him that anyone wanted to see any sort of TV series about Echo, or that that was a super enjoyable character, that we were going to dive back into that. I ultimately, though, think this is a good move. I think it does annoy people to think that they have homework when it comes
Yes.
to, seeing a movie or seeing a TV show. Although me myself, I am of two minds of this, because it is all easy to catch up on. The Disney Plus app even puts it in chronological order for you. So it's not as though the resource isn't there.
Right.
But at the same time, I do understand, again, not wanting to have the homework. I've felt that, but I felt the frustrations of reading a comic, have it reference something, and then give you the yellow box that says, "Hey, to learn more about this, you should have read issue blah 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 of blah blah blah."
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, it's 2024. You can download the Marvel app and go right to said comic book if you really want to learn more about what just happened.
Right.
Ultimately, I think it's a good idea because it gives people choice. For those that just want to go see this movie and not want to do any homework, okay, great. But for those that do want to do that homework, I feel they'll still have the option to do so through Disney Plus. So I totally get the brand separation, I guess. I like that, cinematic TV animation. But what I don't like about it is, okay, I get not everything is interconnected, but I still would like that possibility, particularly if we're going to stay in this Marvel universe that includes the multiverse. Maybe they'll close that loophole out one day. And I would understand if you do, because I myself am a continuity whore. So
Yeah.
I do enjoy a story from ding to dong that is streamlined. But it doesn't kill me if it's an option, to have some homework.
I
But I think
feel like
mainstream, this is a good decision.
I feel like one of the other things they're signaling with this, and maybe I'm off, is that by saying television too, they're going to make the television programs, but they're not going to impact the movies as much. Just like Agents of Shield and Agent Carter were there, and things happened that were tangentially connected, but it didn't matter what happened. And the same thing with the Netflix shows, right? Like they talked about the Battle of New York, but on Daredevil, but nothing in the show
Yeah.
really reflected in the movies and vice versa. So yeah, I kind of feel like they want to go back to that with the television. And I've been thinking about this too. Like you could have watched the Iron Man movies when they were first out and not watched any other ones, because what happened in the Iron Man movies didn't affect Thor or Captain America and vice versa. It wasn't until you got to I was about to say Justice League. It wasn't until you got to the first Avengers movie that
That's the other Josh Whedon project.
but when you got to the first Avengers movie, like they were already introduced in separate movies. So now they're just coming together, and that's how you're familiar with the characters. But I think it was Kevin Smith who had suggested this. Like it's like in old school comics, um the individual books existed, and you didn't have to read Iron Man to know what was going on in Thor and vice versa.
Yeah.
It wasn't until you got to the Avengers that it mattered, or well, he used to call it like the annuals when they used to have the annuals that came out every year. It was the big crossover story, came out once a year. Right, yeah, like if you wanted to know everything that was going on, you did have to read some of the other books, but you didn't even have to read the annual. You could have just kept reading your Iron Man book.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know how they went from having that concept and to quickly tying everything together. And that's also something too I keep forgetting to say on the show. One of the reasons I think Guardians, all three separate Guardians movies did so well is they're not connected at
Yeah.
all. It's really to anything. Like they show up in the other movies, but the other than no, that's the Thor movie. Yeah. There's nothing that happens in any of the Guardians movies that requires you to have watched any other movie except for okay, maybe in the last Guardians you had to have seen Endgame to understand why I can't think of her name. Uh,
I
Thanos'
haven't
daughter.
even. Oh, Gamora.
To understand why Gamora is with the Guardians at that point. Like, but other than that, yeah, like the first two especially.
Yeah. I mean, well, okay, the first one was a little bit more tied to the rest of the Infinity Saga because it dealt with um putting the Power Stone in play and then the Collector getting it and then eventually Thanos going to the Collector. But even that's very loose. Like if you missed
Right,
it, it really didn't mean that much.
right. It's like the Hobbit and uh Bilbo finds a ring.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to read the Hobbit to fully understand what's going on in Lord of the Rings. You know, because Tolkien was like, "Oh, let me take that ring and build it into something more," but he didn't have a plan that, "Oh, you gotta read one or the other to fully understand what's going on
Yeah.
here." Um, so yeah, I think it's a good move. I think it'll make people happy if they can see this and understand, like, oh, okay, like this is a spotlight, so I don't really have to watch this if I don't want to. And I kind of thought that's where they were going to as well when they did Werewolf by Night, right? It was a special and it had nothing to do with the rest of the MCU. You could just watch that and be happy. But yeah, poor Echo. Um, all right. What was my last article here? Oh, actual comic news. Hickman and Capullo are going to team up to do a mini series called Wolverine Revenge, which he's going up. It looked like he's going up against all of the typical Deadpool and
Yeah, your Wolverine Rogues Gallery,
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Omega Red, Death Strike, all the yeah.
I was kind of curious. Well, first off, what you thought because it's Hickman, but
Mm.
also like I kind of feel like, are they doing this to push to ride off the Deadpool Wolverine movie? Like, oh, this will come out right after on the heels of that, so it'll sell, or do you think they're doing it to just keep the momentum going so they can get the X-Men in the MCU? As I feel like they're trying to do that kind of stuff now. They are trying to like keep characters in the in the thoughts of people. Like, I mean, heck, they killed off the Fantastic Four when Fox wasn't working with them. They killed off Wolverine in the comics because of the Fox movies as well. So,
Mhm.
I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are this is a very easy project.
Yeah.
I've never in my life, 4+ decades, heard someone say, "Oh man, this Wolverine story sucks." Like they're
Yeah.
all good. He's an easy character to write for. Hickman, he's a world builder. So that is where my question is going to lie. This obviously is not going to set up a whole world. I could be wrong about that, but I'm not quite sure what a world builder like Hickman is doing on a project like this, because Wolverine stories are always very gritty and personal. Not to say that there isn't any sort of world building. There is some of that a little bit. Um, but yeah, I'm not quite understanding it because again, uh my exposure to Hickman thus far is he comes in, he builds his world, and then he kind of loses interest and lets other people play in it.
Yeah.
Capullo, the artist, good stuff. I just don't have much to say there. It looks like he's going to do a great job. I'm just suspect of Hickman. This looks like some sort of one shot, so I'm not quite sure Hickman's talents are going to lend itself to this story. But I think this is an easy over the plate strike, because you've just never heard anyone say, "Oh, that Wolverine story sucked," because he's such an easy character to write for, in my opinion.
Right. Well, and the reason I was thinking they're using this to write off the success of Wolverine Deadpool is there's going to be
And that, yeah.
a red band version, so they're going to have a
Well,
more graphic version of it.
well, right. Well, remember when I texted you while I was watching Furiosa about like, oh my god, this Hugh Jackman Wolverine's going to be great.
Yeah.
Did you see the turn off your cell phone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. They had to bleep half of it because of what Wolverine was talking about. So this Hugh Jackman Wolverine is not going to be the Hugh Jackman Wolverine we remember. He seems very gruff, grizzled, and for lack of better terms, red band. So I think this works a lot into that.
Do you
I think
think
they're going to lean into that.
okay, along the lines of that, and I've been thinking about this, is it um they brought Jackman back by saying like we're gonna let the gloves come off with how you act a little bit, and you can get away with more stuff, and maybe that interested him putting the claws back on over time, or is he trying to keep up with Ryan Reynolds and how he talks?
You know, that's a great question, because one of my favorite scenes of Wolverine is from X-Men vs. Class, where Charles Xavier and Eric Lencha, otherwise known as Magneto, walk into a bar, simply introduce themselves as, "Hello, I'm Charles Xavier, I'm Eric Lencher," and Wolverine simply says, "Go fuck yourself."
Right.
I love that scene. It's one of those Wolverine scenes that you will see in a movie. And I think it is that essence that they're trying to capture with this Deadpool. But at the same time, I think you're absolutely correct. He has to keep up with Ryan Reynolds in this movie.
Yeah.
So I think that's two parts. I think they just want to see a more gruff, comic accurate Wolverine, one that's willing to kill Hope Summers or children for that matter, if it's what needs to be doing,
Yep.
versus pairing up with Ryan Reynolds, who obviously has the best one-liners that exist in our universe. So I think it's two-parter on that one, Dave.
Okay. All right. What do you think? Let us know in the comments down below. Is it just a darker Wolverine, or is he keeping up with Ryan Reynolds' dirty, dirty mouth? All right.
And even now, even if you're on the live stream, listen, we have not had a lot of comments today, and I'm taking it personal a little bit. I'm the new guy around here.
Look. I mean, we do have 4 people watching us on YouTube right now, but
okay, all right.
and then the rest of on spread over. But it is a holiday weekend, so I mean, I'm gonna give people that. You know, if you're watching this after the fact, maybe Monday when you're nursing a hangover or whatever. Yeah, let us know in the comments. You know, what do you think? And yeah, it's a mini series, which I love anymore. I can just go pick it up and not have to have read 20 X-Men books before that. So what does Kassan say here?
Yeah.
Wolverine is dark. Logan proved how successful a raw Wolverine can be. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go pick up this book. And that's it. That is all the news, boys and girls. We made it through. So we're going to take a quick break and talk some Furiosa. We'll be right back.
This is so wizard, Annie.
Broadcasting very fast and very dangerous from the planet Malistan. You are listening to So Wizard.
You're thinking people gonna die?
The only podcast to make the Kessel run in under 12 parsecs.
No one to stop us this time.
I am your host, Joey DiCarlo, and with me, my co-hosts, the queen of all nerds, Aubrey Litchfield, and the expert, Mr. Marquis, Marcellus Ray. You are listening to So Wizard Podcast, where three friends review movies, TV, and sometimes more, podcasting weekly on the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. Marcellus Reagans, please tell the listeners where they can find more So Wizard Podcasts.
Everybody, you can head on over to SoWizardPodcast.com, and there you're going to find a brand new episode every week. Find So Wizard on all podcasting streaming platforms, such as iTunes, Spotify, Good Pods, and pretty much wherever you can find a podcast. Check out our YouTube page, where new content is being uploaded regularly. We also have a Patreon page. For as little as $1 a month, you can receive exclusive bonus content while you're supporting the show.
No, I didn't. First of all, a podcast takes a lot of work, okay? You have to organize the guests, you have to do a Google Calendar, and you build a following. It takes a long time, and I've been working on it for a while.
I have been working on it for a while. Okay, a couple comments came in. Thrawn says, maybe we even get a feral Wolverine version to feast our eyes on. Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. I find it fascinating. His hair isn't as big as it was in the other movies as well. Like it was, like it's funny because it was a wig. So like I don't know why they didn't do that. We'll see. And then San says, I mean, his own nature and character put him face to face with enemies, blades that can cut anything. Yeah, but he's sharing the same oxygen, blood, gristles, screams, and disembowelments. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's Wolverine. He's feral. Like, I will never forget. I can't remember which comic it was in that I read where it was just like, it was some fight with the X-Men and he just jumps ahead, right? Like, he's the best at what he does, and what he does isn't very nice,
Very nice, right?
Like that's something that they should have used that full phrasing in the movies, but they didn't. They forgot that aspect of the character. All right, now the fireworks are going off, so it means it must be time to talk Furiosa.
All right, we're celebrating the 26th
of Memorial Day. We're
right.
remembering the fallen soldiers by blowing up part of ourselves.
By inducing PTSD. Yay.
There you go. Even better. All right. So, as always, we're going to talk some numbers about the movie before we get into it. So, first off, box office. It did 20, as of this live stream, it made 25.5 million domestically, 33.3 in the rest of the world, so 88.8 million worldwide so far for Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. And then on Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter is at 89%, and the audience score is 90%. So very aligned, which is interesting because that never happens. And then finally, we did one of our patented Superheroes Speak polls over on X, and I just asked people what they thought of Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. I gave them 4 options. It was awesome. It was good. it was okay, meh, and it was terrible. Um, Coming in at 17.6% at the end was it was terrible. 23.5 was it was awesome. And tied for first place was it was good and it was okay, meh. So middle of the road, our audience thinks. Um, so let's get into this. Let's go first off. Non-spoilers, as we always do here before we really get into it. So Don, of course, you go first. Non-spoilers, what did you think of Furiosa Mad Max Saga?
Non-spoilers, I would give it a score of 7 capes out of 10. I think that I had to be aware of my bias and watch because I hate the whole post-apocalyptic dystopian, and I'm also watching Fallout, so it's like, okay, I have to block out the overload. But with that said, I actually thought it was somewhat interesting, kind of the world they set up, because realize I did not see Mad Max Fury Road. Um, I don't remember anything about the original Mad Max beyond um, Tina Turner in the Thunderdome video.
Yeah.
You know, so outside of that, I don't know much about this world, but what they set up in this movie, which I thought for a dystopian future was actually a bit entertaining. So I was ultimately entertained by this movie. Certainly I have some negative things to say about it. I think that Chris Hemsworth's performance was okay, but he really was just doing a dirty Thor. That's really all he was doing.
Hmm.
And I thought the ending was boring. Piece of evidence I will submit there is that I actually took my 15-year-old son and he fell asleep at the end of the movie. Outside of that, though, I thought the car action was cool. I thought the vehicles they were using were cool. I'm a big truck guy, so I found myself to be entertained by the big trucks. Even though Dementis, which is Chris Hemsworth character, he was driving this like 6-wheeled monster truck. I just happen to know a lot about monster trucks, and I know those engines would have burned up a long time ago. But anyway, spending this. So I thought it was entertaining. I mean, certainly this isn't Shakespeare. I'm not interested to see or learn any more of this world, but I felt with what they did set up was interesting and made sense. So again, 7 out of 10 capes.
Wow. Okay. So let's interesting. Real quick before I give my opinion. Thrawn says, with it being available to stream in 2 weeks, will that put a hamper on the box office? Yeah, because there's actually people saying online, this has been the comments I've been seeing, is it's not Mad Max. It's a side character, so why should we go pay money to see it? Which I thought was an interesting take. I don't know if I totally agree with that. Like, if you like these kinds of movies, you should go see it. I'm the one of those. It's like this is the kind of movies that are kind of made for the big screen, or the big action scenes. So like you should go see in the big screen. But okay, so here's the thing. I'm glad you talked about your mindset, because my mindset, obviously I was having troubles with my girlfriend. I went early. I was off Friday, so I got up early, went by myself Friday morning. So I wasn't in a good mood to begin with. And you go to a movie theater and it should be a communal experience, but there was like 5 or 6 other people in the theater. So that hampers your experience, right? Like, you don't have people cheering when things happen, then like you don't feel it, you know?
Yeah.
And that being said, and it was funny because I was actually talking to Karen about it before we got on tonight. Like, a good movie, if you're in a crappy mood will take you out of the crappy mood and put you into a good mood. That didn't do this movie did not do that for me. And I was actually through a lot of it, I was quite bored. And I shouldn't be with these big action scenes. And that bothered me by the end of the movie. And I felt like it was a 45-minute movie they stretched out to 2.5 hours. So, like,
Yeah, I
the
could see that.
like, if they at least made it an hour 45 to an hour to 2 tops, I think it would have been a better movie too. Like, there's a lot they could have cut out. That there's scenes that go on way too long that it just isn't necessary at this point. So yeah, I'm not as high as you. I would not give it a 7.
Yeah.
I like if you're a fan of the franchise, and especially if you were a fan of Fury Road, the last one, which I did like the last one. I liked Fury Road. Then you should go see it. But if you just want to go see like a good action, like blow up movie, this probably isn't it. So,
And you know what makes it worse, Dave, is that when they say the movie starts at 9:35,
oh god, yeah.
You have to sit through a half hour. Or not even like movie previews, because we can enjoy that.
Right, it's commercials now.
Great commercials.
Yeah.
And like they'll come on, and I bitched about this on Twitter. They'll come on with some sort of like silence your cell phone message, and you think, oh, here we go. Let me go ahead and silent it. Here comes the movie. 15 fucking minutes of commercials that follow after that.
Then
like, this has to be illegal.
Then they show another one of those silence your phone.
Yeah. Like, I'm paying $15 for this ticket. I'm paying $8 for this bag of candy. However much, what was it? $8 for the fucking Coke or whatever. Like,
yeah.
Come on, man. Like, is that really what I'm supposed to do now? Okay, it says 9:35. That means 10:05. That's when we'll get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's only gonna make that right there makes that experience just a little bit worse if you're having those problems.
So
listen, I went into it. I tried to have a positive attitude because again, I do not like this setting. I don't like the fucking dystopian desert wasteland setting. I don't. But so I maybe I overcompensated that, but ultimately I was entertained. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just my positive attitude has got the best of me.
So all right, so that's what we thought. If you guys don't want to spoilers, or if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want spoilers, then you can stop here and come back later and finish watching it. If you don't care or whatever, all right, here we go. So my first question to you is, and I should have asked this before we started, did you see Fury Road?
Nope.
Oh, this movie also makes a lot more sense if you see Fury Road, but this movie is to the Mad Max Saga as what Solo is to the Star Wars saga.
Oh, okay. Oh boy.
It's a story explaining how things got to the way they are at the beginning of Fury Road, that you weren't really asking those questions when you were watching that movie anyway. Like Furiosa is in that the truck with the brides of I can't think of the guy's name, the one with the mask. Like at the beginning of the movie, he's hunting her down. Like, so now you know how that happened. But I didn't need to know from the time she was a small child to that point in her life. Like
they spent way too much time with her childhood. That was like half the fucking movie. That was crazy. I got you there. That really was inordinate.
Oh, that's the wrong one. What do you Kassan's asks, Why do you hate? Why do you hate about the? Oh, what do you hate about dystopian setting? The fact that it's a reality within reach, or something else? Yeah.
I don't like to be depressed. Okay.
Yeah.
My mind is already such that my mind will go down negative rabbit holes with very little data. Okay. So it is because of that reason I'm not a horror movie guy. I don't want to see bad shit happen to people. I just don't. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why. And you're right, Kassan. How close are we to this shit, right? Like, how close are we to fucking this planet into a coma, to quote Cable from Deadpool 2? So there is a little bit of a reality twinge that I'm like, and
Yeah.
I'm just not that sort of guy. I like positive things, positive thinking. I know humanity can go to some really dark fucking places, but I just can't let my head dwell there. I can't. So it's stuff like this that kind of puts me there.
Yeah. I'm gonna say that too, like, with, not to get into politics or world stuff right now, but with everything going on in the world, watching a movie like this, it's like, yeah, we're not that far off from this maybe becoming a reality. So,
And you even begin to wonder, because we're in spoilers, like, how does somebody like, I'm gonna call him Dementor, it's Dementus though.
Dementus, yeah.
How does somebody like Dementus get enough people to follow him that he's actually a force to be reckoned with in this world?
That is so okay. We're in spoilers, and that is one of my critiques of the movie too. Like, don't get me wrong. So I thought Chris Hemsworth did a good job in this movie. I did like his acting. I mean, yeah, did he use some of the same shtick that he did with Thor? Probably, yeah. But you're right.
Should have made
Like,
him look a little bit different.
when we first are introduced to Dementus, so when Furiosa is a child and gets picked up by
Oh,
the
he's
gang.
Jesus. He's Jesus at that point.
He's
I'm
Jesus.
sorry.
He's right. He's Jesus, and like we just see people following him, right? So it's just like, okay, he's the leader of this. Like, they're running into the tent to like meet him, right? He's just got the white robe. Well, it's actually a parachute or something, but he's wearing it like a robe. And people are just following him, and he's got the dogs that are like also obeying him and killing him. So it's like he's definitely shown as the alpha dog. But then later on in the movie, when he finally gets real power and he's the head of Gastown,
Yeah.
it falls apart because he can't really lead. And it's like, well, but how did he get that far? Like, and they were trying to do a whole parallel between him. They were trying to force a parallel between him and Furiosa,
The
saying like,
Immortal. Oh, okay.
no, like at the end, by the end of the movie, right? Saying like, oh, we're
Yeah.
not that different. And that's the whole thing. Like, there's a backstory there about he lost his family,
Right. They
which is
never get into that shit.
which is what made him who he is, but they never get into it. And like, there's something that was interesting that they didn't. They did just like, we're just going to hint at it, and we're not going to show it, but yet we'll give you 5 minutes of them just driving down the road and you're looking at the
Yeah.
desert. I've seen that in all the other movies. That's enough of that. Let's like, cut this down to a tight hour and a half, hour and 45.
Yeah, that villain Dementus does not make total sense to me because, like I said, when we first meet him, he's doing the Jesus thing, right? But
Right.
he's actually smart when it comes to like
Right.
Furiosa. Like he's telling him, like he's using the whole like when it comes to interrogation, right? It's actually not the person that threatens you the most that's going to work. It's the one that convinces you that he's your friend. That's the one that's going to get the information that they need. And he employs that tactic in the beginning of this movie, where he first meets Furiosa, and he's like, "No, you don't have to do any of that. get her something to eat, make her comfortable. You don't have to tell us anything right now. I was even thinking like, whoa, this guy is okay. I could see
Right.
he's kind of being smart, but then it all goes away. It all goes away, and he's like, oh, there's red stuff on me now. Now I'm the red guy. Like he makes a turn that I don't quite understand.
Right, because that's the thing. Because he even says like, well, I'll just follow the tracks in the morning, right? Like he's already got a plan where like you don't have to talk because I can still figure out where you came from. Of course, there's the
Sandstorms and shit.
sandstorm at night, but like they show that he has some intelligence, and you're right. And then all of a sudden, when they're going down the road and they run into one of the Chrome guys, which again, if you didn't see Fury Road, you don't know who those
Yeah.
guys are. Like they're a big thing in Fury Road because they all work for that Immortus Joe, who's the guy with the mask who runs the Citadel. Like that's what they like. That's what they do. Like it's all Valhalla and that kind of stuff. And then they spray the chrome in their mouth and they're like, "Witness me," and they do something where they die. So like the idea of dying in combat you go to Valhalla. But like they run into the one guy who's got the what do you call those things? The smoke gun, the
Oh, the flare gun.
flare gun.
Yeah.
It's the smoke, right? And he shoots it on the ground, and like yeah, like all of a sudden his character really started to turn at that point. Like
Yeah. He really did. You're right.
then
I didn't think about that before. He really did. Like he really started to turn when he got hit with that red flare dust or whatever the fuck.
right, and then they take over. They're able to take over Gastown. They go and they go to the Citadel, to like negotiate. The Joe was going to like kill him, but then takes Furiosa instead, and like I was expecting a much different interaction there, in like
Yeah.
from Dementis saying like, "No, I raised you, I took care of you," right? But it was just like, she doesn't care, so I don't care, And the ripping the nipples off was just like over the top too. Lose both
I
your nipples
fucking
like that.
forgot about that till you just fucking reminded me. And yeah, you're right. It's totally fucking misplaced in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. And then he just walks away. Like, I don't know if you've had both your nipples ripped off it instantaneously, you would be able to just walk away from it.
Especially in this world, one thing I don't get about this setting, it seems very unsanitary. Yet people can have appendages ripped off and some sort of crude surgery, and there don't seem to be any affections whatsoever. I know that's thinking too much into it, so I'm going to stop myself there. But that did bug me, how very dirty everything seems to be. But people can have gaping wounds, and they're okay.
She loses half of her arm. And then
not even from like a surgical, it's fucking tire in her fucking car. Yeah.
There's a quick scene which felt unnecessary where she's like in some tent with these people that like have all these dead body parts, and there's like maggots on her, which is like, that was one of those over the top unnecessary things. Like it was gross. And yet she did not get an infection and just die, like, which was what would have happened in real life. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah, and that makes as much sense as Bruce Wayne being in the bottom of that pit and his back surgery being, hey, let me just hit you in the fucking back with this board for a half hour, and then you're going to be right as rain. It doesn't make sense at all. If this wasn't Earth, I guess I would say like, okay, physics are different. But no, they're like, this is Australia, so this is Earth. Microbes exist.
And then there's let's see. And that's the thing too, and it shouldn't bug me, but it does. Why is Furiosa the only one with an American accent? Why does
Oh, I didn't
everyone
even
else
notice that.
why does everyone else have an Australian accent and she has an American? And I think Anna correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Anna Taylor-Joy is actually British. So she doesn't even have a British accent. She puts on an American accent for this movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Boy,
why?
Anna Taylor-Joy, let me tell you, she is very strange looking. She has a very, very pointy chin. She honestly looks like one of the Kaminoans from Star Wars with just a shorter neck. Like, she is very, very, I don't know. She was just way thinner than everybody else in this movie. And it was very hard for me to believe that she was like this big badass, as she looks basically malnutritioned. Which I mean, I guess everybody's malnutrition in this world.
Except for Chris Hemsworth and
Except for Chris, right? He gets plenty of protein. He is buff all the way.
yeah. No, you're right. And it was Theron, what's her name? Sure, who played her in the last movie.
Is that who she plays? Furiosa? Is that the Charlize Theron character?
Yes. That's
Okay, because I don't know. I gathered as much as that her releasing those maidens had something to do with Fury Road,
right.
but I don't know for sure because I've never seen it. But okay.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I mean, okay. I think backing up a little bit, I think the best character in this movie is what's his name? Jack, the guy who like the first guy to drive. I don't. Do they ever say his name? I'm looking at the credits. They call him Praetorian Jack. He's the one who drives.
You were talking about the okay, yeah. I could tell he was I could tell he was supposed to be significant, but yeah, I don't know who that is or why.
Well, I mean, I don't know if he's significant in any of the other movies, but like he rides the rig and he's the one that like brings her on, helps her out to get to the point where she can, escape again at the end of the movie. But like in all honesty, he was probably the best character in the movie, like best acting. His I didn't feel like he was over the top. His storyline kind of makes sense. Like he's the best driver, so he's driving the rig, and it's what helps him to survive in this world.
Yeah.
And then of course he got killed off for helping her escape, or trying to stop Dementus. Oh my god. So let's back up all the way. That was something too. You didn't see Fury Road, so you don't have the scenes in your head to compare it to, but like there are these big, massive set chase scenes that are all in the desert. There's a giant rig with a guy playing guitar. I'm sure you've seen the clip.
Yeah, he's shooting the fire out of the guitar.
Fire out of the guitar, which it was all real. Like he's actually holding this giant flamethrower guitar shaped thing, and it's actually shooting fire. Like, I mean, yeah, there's some green screen CGI stuff, but like the bulk of it is real. And I felt the scenes from the beginning of this movie is with the horses and them was it horses? Yeah, they're jumping on and off of different things, and there's all this stuff going on in the beginning, and you can tell it's CGI. And it was like, to me, it was really bad. Like it felt like a step down from Fury Road in some of the scenes. I thought about it with Dementus breaking down that barrier from Bullet Town, and him in that truck where he's sitting in the middle. Like it looked bad, in my opinion. It looked really fake. Like he was just painted on there as he was driving the truck at the one part. Oh, they're talking in the chat. They're asking which one's available in 2 weeks, and they're saying it's this one. And Kassan's like saying, why would they do that? 168 million production budget makes that near 250 with marketing. This movie had to make 500 million to break even. Yeah, like so
Well, I
why would
think with Anna Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth, one could expect that it would make 500
Yes.
million through star power alone, because Anna Taylor-Joy is great. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved her in the New
I
Mutants. Now, I know that's not a popular movie, but honestly, it should be. It was really good. Well, no, I'm sorry. It was good. For the story that it told. But I mean, she is a great talent, for sure.
I saw the thing that I've seen her in was The Menu, and like it's a weird movie, but she's really good in it, you know. So yeah,
She's a good
like
actress.
yeah, she's a very good actress. So I have no issues with her. But there's a giant fly in here. And I don't know where it came from.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, I saw it buzzing the screen a couple times.
That's probably. I think there might be a hole in my screen. But yeah, so it's like I get it. Like they had two big stars in it. They probably were expecting it to do that. But I feel like people see 2.5 hours and they're like, nah, like I don't want to go sit
That
through that.
that's the biggest problem with this movie. It's way too long, and again, it's too long because we spend way too much time with Furiosa as a child.
Right, that's
I
the other
do.
thing, right? Anna Taylor-Joy is one of the draws, but she doesn't show up till halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
That's pretty crazy to think about.
yeah. And every time they did those title cards, and it was like another thing, and it wasn't her yet. I'm like, oh, come on, can we get
Yeah,
past
I don't
this?
know why they did that. I was getting like Kill Bill, Pulp Fiction vibes from it.
Yeah,
But I just didn't feel it was necessary.
I'm pretty sure they did that in Fury Road too. So if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I think he did that same kind of setup in Fury Road. But it made sense then. Um, you know, so yeah, I mean, it's just like, and that's another thing too. I kind of felt like when Joe shows up and he's like, they kind of make a big deal about him showing up in Fury Road. So like, that's the introduction of the character. You get to know who he is and whatnot. And then I felt like he just walks out in this one and he's there and his two sons. And it was like, you're supposed to just already know who he was. But technically, this is the first time we see him because it's a prequel to Fury Road. So it was just like, I thought that was weird too. There wasn't like any big fanfare introducing him in this movie, which I felt like there should have been. And then, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know there's a lot that I don't know about this universe because I didn't see Fury Road. And from what I understand from talking with my next door neighbor, this does actually call back a little bit to the original Mad Max series. I guess the guy with the face and the breather.
Yeah.
I guess that's because he got his face blown off in one of the Mad Max
Yes.
movies, or was
Yeah.
okay. So I thought that
Right,
was
and that's why it
cool.
was a big deal when they showed him, like, when they brought him back in Fury Road with the mask and everything. So,
Yeah.
right, but that was the reveal. That's why he was alive. Like, and he's got that weird thing, right? But in this one, it was just like, oh, he's just there. Like, he's already got his face
Here's
blown off.
here's a question I have. Remember the birth scene where she was like, "Oh, is it a boy? Is it a boy? Is it a boy?"
Yeah,
And then they show it, and it's got like four legs.
right.
Um, why is it because of radiation? Like, I don't
I
know
think
much about
it's.
how this
I think
Earth
it's.
got this way.
If I remember correctly, yeah. Well, like, yeah, it was some kind of like. I can't remember. God, I've seen the original movie a long time ago, and I don't remember. And here's the thing, too: the original movies, the original three, it's not all desert. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's still some civilization left. It's just breaking down at that point. Where at this point, it was like you feel like it was nuclear winter and like everything's just gone. So I
Except for
feel
the
like
one sliver of abundant land that Furiosa comes from,
right, exactly. Um,
which they
which
never
is
went back to.
which was the focus of these last two movies is finding the abundance, Um, and I think that's how the last one. I think that's how Fury Road ends, was them trying to go there. Um, but yeah, like I do think it's like a nuclear war, and but like there's they talk about it's more graphic and gross, that aspect of it in the last movie, because there's like inbreeding too, because they're they're milking the women to have something to drink, so they're keeping them pregnant, and then you got to have sex with whatever women are available to keep them pregnant. So it's radiation and inbreeding and all this. So it's like, yeah, it's hard to have normal children. So yeah, that's the problem. Right. So since they delve more into it in the last movie, that's why they just kind of like do it real quick in
Yeah.
this one.
Which I get. I don't hold that against them just because I didn't see the,
right.
We get that.
But the menu in Queen's Gambit. Oh, sorry. Kassan was saying the menu in Queen's Gambit and The Northman. If you haven't seen the movie, you're missing out. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll check it out. Again, she's a good actress. I don't hold this movie against her. I don't know why they didn't bring back Theron to Cerise. What's her name?
Charisse Theron.
Charisse.
That is a question I was going to ask. Like, why did they not just bring her back? I mean,
I don't know. Like, that's the thing. Like, it feels like it goes back to Anna Taylor-Joy is like a hot name right now. So like use her to get a bigger audience, but I don't think it worked. The box office doesn't reflect that at all. And 2 weeks to go to streaming too. It just feels like they didn't have confidence in this movie from the get-go. So then why did you make it?
Which isn't that a little surprising that Chris Hemsworth is in this though? If he didn't think it was going to be some sort of, I don't know, relevant property.
Unless he's just like, maybe he has a history with George Miller and that's why he's in it. Like he's Australian. George Miller's Australian. Like maybe there's probably like an Australian pride thing in making this movie, because that's the thing. The original movie was
right.
The original Mad Max
Yeah.
is like a low budget Australian movie that got international distribution and became a thing. That's what made Mel Gibson a star. So, sure. Theron vowed never to do another Mad Max movie with Tom Hardy. She hated and the aggression on the set and Tom's lack of discipline. Well, again, then why isn't she in it? Because Tom Hardy is not in this movie. Like that's not an answer. And yeah, like that doesn't make sense. And
not unless like he knew of that and he was basically telling her, like, yeah, if you return to the movie, I'm gonna visit the set every day. Oh, I'm gonna love it. I don't get that either, Kassan. Like Tom Hardy was not in the movie, so
and how
this
about
would
the
have
weird
featured her, right? Like she'd have been the star at this point.
and that's the thing too. There's the weird Mad Max cameo in this movie, right?
Yeah.
Because this is Furiosa as a young
Yeah,
woman.
but chicks nowadays are 50 years old looking 30. Like, oh my God. Like my wife is 40 years old and looks like she's 28. I'm so fucking blessed because you see this gray shit here, which she likes for some fucking reason.
But yeah.
Anyway,
that weird overhead shot of Max standing next to his car, and he's got dark hair. And full dark hair. He looks more like Mel Gibson than Tom Hardy.
I missed this. Because I don't. So there was a shot of Mad Max in this movie.
Yeah, but it's just from the top. Like you can. I
Oh, I
think it's
totally missed that shit.
it's the
Okay.
scene where I think it's the scene where she's chasing, if I remember correctly, she's chasing down Dementus. Like I think it's either that scene or the scene um where he was chasing her. Like it's near the end of the movie where he's chasing the two of them um and he strings her up. But I'm pretty sure it's after that when they're in the war and she's chasing him down. Right. It's just a real quick shot from the top. It's his car from the first couple movies, which is it's a police car because he's a cop. Like that's the thing. Max is a police officer from before the world fell apart, and it's like he's like still doing his job in the movie. Like that's where the original Mad Max story comes from. But yeah, and it was funny because it's like he's got full dark hair where Tom Hardy didn't have that when he played Mad Max. So it was like that was a weird.
Is Tom Hardy a good actor? I'm legitimately asking because I can't figure it out. I can't figure out if he's just a good actor or
Don't know.
I don't get. I just watching the last Venom movie. I was like, is this a good actor or I don't know? Does he just act the way we all like? I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't know, right? Because him as Bane,
Right,
and
him as Bane. That's exactly what I was thinking.
you can't understand anything he's saying, but that's not his fault. That's Christopher
Yeah.
Nolan for putting a mask on him the whole time.
Yeah.
And writing a horrible version of Bane for the movie. I think Tom is an above average actor, says Kassan. Yeah, maybe. I'd like to just see him not play one of these characters. Like I want to see him in something that's all original, you know. Or wait, and maybe he's already done this. Look, can I see him as just a romantic lead in like in a date type movie? Just as like just acting, like no action, no having to like save the world or destroy the world or anything in between. Just being a charming leading man. Like I don't know if he's done a movie like that because I'm not a big like I've seen the stuff he's in, but I don't go seek him out, right? Like I've seen Venom, I've seen the Batman movies, and I've seen the Mad Max movies, but it's not like I'm a Tom Hardy completist.
Yeah.
Isn't he the new Highlander? No, I thought that's
Henry Cavill.
That's Henry Cavill. So yeah.
I'm super excited about. Yeah, I confuse Tom Hardy with someone else all the time. Like I don't get it, but whatever. Cool.
So it seems like we're trying not to hate the movie, but we were both kind of disappointed with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, I'm overcompensating a little bit because the subject matter I do not like.
Right.
You know, and there's a lot of questions that come to mind, like, you know, okay, this is such a dystopian future, but boy, these mechanics out here seem top notch.
Well, exactly. Like that's one of the issues with the movies, especially here we are 2024. The original movie came out. I don't remember. It's like I can't remember if it's like super late 70s or early. I think it's early 80s. I think it's like 81, 82.
Yeah, I think you're right. 81, 82.
The first Mad Max came out where they didn't have the technology to go over the top and make them look this way. But like the thing is, Max was around before the fall of the world. Like he was a cop, and then the world falls, and he's going across the wasteland, and he's righting wrongs or whatever. He's being the hero. Like that's like they call him the hero, at least in the first two. And then but he's he's Mad Max because he's gone crazy because the world ended and he lost his family and all that stuff. But in fact, one of the craziest stunts in the first movie is him jumping the car through a trailer, which, like, at the time it was like, oh my god, that's such an amazing stunt, but like nowadays I'd be like, oh, okay, that was boring. What else you got? But anyway, sorry, it just popped. The scene popped in my head. I was thinking about the movie,
Right.
um, but like, so let's say just say you're, and he had a family, right? So let's say you're a 25-year-old guy who's a cop. The world goes to shit. You survive. How does it get to feral bands in Gastown, Citadel, and Bullet Town with nothing else around, and somewhere there's a strip of grass? Like, how does it get that far in
Yeah.
15 years? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, especially if there's nothing left and you're having to build stuff by hand and you have to like get people to work together to do this, and yet you're killing everyone that goes against
Yeah.
you. It just, you're right. Like, that's one of my problems with dystopian future movies is like when you're gone this far, but the time frames don't make sense. Like if this was 100 years after the fall of the earth, that works, right? I can believe that's
Yeah.
100 years after nuclear war or whatever. But 15 years later, maybe. No, that doesn't. The timeline doesn't work. Like, you're not gonna get groups together like that quick and build these amazing machines. Have a gas, like, where's the gas come for Gas Town? Like, how does that even make sense? You know? So, yeah.
Yeah, I
I don't
could
know.
not let myself ask those questions because I would have been out of it lickety split. Like
And
I
that's,
had to try and
yeah,
enjoy it.
like in 1981, I can get away with, those, not asking those questions because it was just cool. But now in 2024, when I've seen dozens of movies like this, it's like, does this work anymore? I don't know. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to beat this to death. I kind of think we're both kind of saying the same thing. We're trying to not let our bias get in the way, but we really didn't enjoy this movie. And I liked Fury Road. I thought the sets, the big chase scenes are really well done. It's amazing. And again, there isn't much story in Fury Road either. It's more of a like get from point A to point B kind of like escape and get here kind of movie. There's not like a huge story in that either. But this one, there was even less. Like, we did not need all that young Furiosa stuff in the beginning. You just need seeing her and her mom escape and her mom die and then flash to her as an adult. All the other stuff isn't needed. And then, you cut down some of these boring driving around scenes. And you get this to a good hour
Yeah.
45, and then you
Well,
get a better movie.
if we could have just sacrificed some of the Furiosa backstory and injected some Dementis backstory,
Yeah.
because to me, that's what made the last 10 minutes of this movie so fucking boring. Is you've got Furiosa, she's got Dementis on the ropes, he's got a fucking gun to his head. He has this somewhat compelling speech about, fuck it, go ahead and do it. I'm not going to feel a thing. He's obviously lost his family too.
Right.
So he is trying to appeal to that side of her to explain, like, hey, you're not the only crazy motherfucker out here. And that all would have had so much more weight if we just would have learned what the fuck happened to his family.
Yep.
Make him go to the point in his brain where he's riding around on motorcycle chariots, marauding people.
Right. Yeah.
But we don't get any of that. We got 45 minutes of Furiosa and where she came from. And it's purely fucking simple. She came from the abundant land. It got fucked up. Now, for whatever reason, she has to take part of the wasteland life, and here we go. So I agree. That was the major fault of this movie is we spent way too much time on introducing Furiosa and not enough time making our villains sympathetic. Because I feel he has a sympathetic story somewhere. I just don't know it. So he's just dirty Thor marauding through the desert on his motorcycles. There you go. Not being an effective leader at all.
And the whole movie would not have happened if she just stayed on top of that ridge, hidden with her sister or whoever it was she was picking fruit with, while instead of trying to go down and attack those marauders who were on the land. Like, if she just left them alone, it would have been a completely different movie, and that would have been it. But
yep.
You know, because obviously they showed that the adults could take care of themselves. They were good shots and could ride
Big
motorcycles
time.
and all that stuff. So I'm sure if they ran into those marauders, they would have dispatched them quickly, and that would have been the end of the movie.
Right,
So,
exactly. How this should have ended. That'll be coming soon,
yes,
I'm sure.
yeah, I'm sure. So, okay, real quick, how do you feel about Fallout, Don? Ask Hassan.
I feel it's a really cool series, actually. I feel that it's a very good cautionary tale to how corporations, if they have too much power, will at some point get together and say, hey, let's just do shit the way we want it. So yeah, I feel it's a very good series. Honestly, the best part of it to me is where Chopper, or the Ghoul before he became the Ghoul, is listening to his wife in the meeting of the corporations pitch the fact that they need to start the nuclear war in order for people to really want to buy their fallout shelters. Like, I just kind of felt that. I just imagine if I was listening to my wife, whom I love with every fiber of my being, be in some meeting where she's pitching the end of the world and how that would feel. That just struck with me. But anyway, that's how I feel about Fallout. I feel it's a great series. Again, I don't like the setting, but I am compelled by their story. So there you go. And that's pretty good. That's a pretty good grade to get. Is, again, I already know I don't like your world, but I'm still interested.
Corporations banding together to decide how they want the world run instead of
yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Pretty sure we're already there.
What are you doing? We don't do that here.
Right, like, it's scary, and it's like, this isn't far off. Holy shit.
All right. Well, let's just wrap this up, because I think we're beating a horse at this point. Let's just, I mean, you gave it a score, right? Are you still sticking with your 7?
I'm going to stick with my 7. I think that at the end of the day, it was entertaining and made me slightly interested in how the world worked. There's just things that don't quite make sense, but hey, I'm watching a movie. So,
yeah. I think I'm going to go one below you and say a 6. If I hadn't said let's do it for the show, I probably would have waited for streaming, and kind of upset I didn't. And it's not the fault of any of the actors. It's just there wasn't really a story here. There is somewhat a story, but like George Miller stretched it out way too far to try to create an epic where there wasn't an epic. It would have been just as good, cut down. And I also agree, like, parallel, like, you want to tell an intriguing story that's interesting, parallel Dementis and Furiosa, like, show her upbringing and how she got to where she is, show what happened to him and how he got to where he is. So then when they confront each other at the end and she kills him, you feel for both the characters at that point. Like, show her not wanting to have to kill him, and show him like he just did what he thought he needed to do to survive, and then it's interesting. Otherwise, it's just, you killed my family, You killed my. My name is Furioso. You killed my
Right.
father. Prepare to die. You know, like.
You did that. You killed my brother.
And that, I mean, come on, people. Too, like, it was at least 10 minutes at the end to kill him. Like that went on.
Yeah, that was, and because they didn't do anything with his fucking backstory or make him sympathetic whatsoever, you're like, just shoot the motherfucker. Just shoot him. Just shoot him. Just shoot him. Just shoot him.
All right. Well, that is our review of Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. All right. Well, that's it. Let's bring it in for a landing. Let's find out. Did you learn anything this week on the podcast, Don, or do you have any recommendations for our fine folks out there?
I can't say that I learned anything, and I usually take a little note or some shit about what I learned, but that just didn't really happen. Here, I'll pull it out because of Kassan, I learned that Charlize Theron vowed to never do another Mad Max movie with Tom Hardy, but that's about it. Recommendations, obviously, for whatever reason you have not consumed X-Men 97, please do so. And Fallout. I do recommend it. Again, it's not the setting I like, but it is intriguing. The way that they set the world. I've never played a Fallout game. I'm not gonna ever play a Fallout game, but I think the series was good, so check it out.
Cool. All right. I learned that if you have enough cachet in the movie industry, you can take what essentially should be a short film and turn it into a 2.5-hour movie that no one really wants to go see. I mean, again, I find it fascinating. It's getting great reviews, but yet no one's going to see it. So, yeah, so that's it. Recommendations, actual recommendations. I don't have anything. I am going to try to start watching Fallout this week because everyone's telling me good things about it. But I mean, if you haven't watched it already, I can't make you watch it until I see it. So, I also recommend, if you've gotten this far in the show and you have not subscribed yet, please click that subscribe button. Click the bell for notifications so you don't miss us when we go live here on Sunday nights and don't miss any of our other great upcoming content. Smash that like button because it does really help with the algorithm. Gets us out there, you know, people will find us and yeah, we'll keep going. Kassan says Garfield is good for the kids during the holiday weekend. I was gonna go see it. Maybe my girlfriend and I'll go see it tomorrow because we're both off.
You know what, Kassan? Thank you for saying that because update on the Daniels compound is we have a new kitty, and he is a calico. And not that I'm a fan, but I was thinking maybe we could name him Trump because they have the same color hair. But I think Garfield actually is a more fitting name. So thank you.
All right. Also, I recommend that you go to superheroespeak.com where you can find the podcast you can find the podcast every week. The link to all our social media at the top of the page. Comic book reviews by our good friend Chris. Comic reviews by Don in the archives, and so much more. So on that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for watching. Don't let your cape caught in the door. Have a good week.